Money mindset. Ooh, this is going to be a good one, folks. If you know me, you know that I am ridiculously obsessed with the concept of money mindset. And I am so looking forward to unpacking this with you on the podcast. What is money mindset? It is the collection of beliefs that you hold as truths about money. These beliefs subconsciously drive your daily decisions. So, to share this fully, I want to go back. And I want to tell you about my role as a professional fundraiser, coaching fundraisers, people that raise money for charities, to invite investment, to make donations, to invite people to make donations. And I hit against this really funny wall because I could teach them all the best practice about running an annual appeal campaign. I could teach them all the best practices about capital campaigns and how to structure them and all this stuff. But when it came down to it, they could either ask for the gift or they could not. And I was banging my head against the wall. I was like, what is going on here? There's obviously some kind of power going on at the subconscious level that is helping this person avoid something that they find scary, which in this case is asking for money. I could do a whole podcast about what people think fundraisers are and what fundraisers are in reality, but I will save that for another day. Because once I realized that that was what the challenge was for these people, it forced me to do a ton of reflection and look back. And I'm here to share what I learned. It all starts, like all good stories, with a kitchen renovation. So imagine me with two little people under my feet. And every time I went to wash dishes in my kitchen sink, inevitably, I would whack my head on this stupid cupboard door that would not close. And the cupboard door was pointed and I would bonk my forehead on it and I would get ripping mad. And so I went to my husband and I was like, we need to fix this. And he's like, yeah, we'll just get another magnet for the cupboard door. I'm like, no. You don't get this. I'm not talking about the cupboard door. I'm talking about the kitchen. The sight lines in the kitchen were terrible. When I was standing washing dishes, which is what I did a lot of back in those days with two little people, I was looking at a freaking wall and a bunch of cupboards. And then around the corner was where the children were sitting at the table. The kitchen was antiquated. It was, it was dated. It had dark wood. It was like being in a little hole, like a little mole in a hole. And I realized at that moment that I needed to, it was almost like one of the first times where I really wanted something. And this something involved money. And this was kind of the beginning of my aha journey on how money was something I had been an ostrich about, how money was something I had ignored in my life. I was one of those lucky people, incredibly privileged, that for the most part, I had my needs taken care of. And I didn't have big wants or needs or big, massive things. I was very content. But things had changed. I wanted a new kitchen and I wanted it done just exactly how I wanted it to be. And so, dear listeners, that brought me on a fascinating journey, which I am still on to this day, and I want to share it with you. So the first thing I did was, okay, I need to get clear on what's going on with our family money, how much money is coming in, how much is going out. I distinctly remember I worked with a cash flow expert. So the first thing I did was hire a cash flow expert to look at what was coming in our bank account and what was going out and where maybe we could make some changes. And I remember saying to her, I just want to know how much money I can spend, right? Because my money beliefs growing up were about saving being the single most important thing you did with your money. And I want to just say here right now, there is no judgment around this. There's no right way to do money or wrong way to do money. I think what I'm hoping you're getting insight into is my lack of awareness into where my money was going, what I was doing with it, and how it was or was not making my life more joyful. Because the place I've come around to is money as a tool to make my life more joyful, more fun, and full of more memories. So this cash flow expert, she took a look at what was going on. We made some discoveries like, holy cow, I didn't know how much money I was spending on food. I'm sure for those of you listening, that can be a really common trait. You don't realize how many times you're going to the grocery store, or etc. And, like a good fundraiser, I got clear on what my target for saving was, because all of a sudden we hadn't cooked. It wasn't saving for saving's sake. It was saving towards something I wanted, I desired. And every act I could make to put more money in that extra saving account monthly was more money towards my dream kitchen. You'll learn more about me over time, but my archetype, and I do a money archetype assessment as part of my coaching experiences, and I also sell them as one-offs, is the, the alchemist. And the alchemist believes in money as the power to make things better, or the power to make change in the world. Kind of a disrespect for money itself, but a respect for what money can do. You also need to know that my husband's archetype is an accumulator. That's the person that feels really good when there's money in the bank account, right? When there's lots of money around him, he gets excited, he's happy, it makes him feel good. And that money to him is safety, stability, and freedom in a lot of ways, right? Security. For him, money represents security. So here I am, saving all this money, watching every month of the bank account that there's this extra savings account that's got all my kitchen money in it. I'm a professional fundraiser, so, I like a good target, people. So I know I'm doing well when my teenage children start coming down the stairs and they're like, hey, Mom, there's like nothing to eat in the fridge. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Isn't it awesome? So definitely I was hitting my goals and achieving my goals. So that was step one, was getting clear on where my money was and wasn't. Step two was to lean into a meaningful conversation with my husband. You knew that was coming, didn't you, dear listener? And so in the past, those conversations had been really like, how with a partner, you have a certain dance that you do and we each play a role in the dance. I was bound and determined to change that paradigm and to change the way I spoke to him about money and the way we made decisions together. So these were really big steps. And I have to say, made me feel very vulnerable, but I was ready to do it because I was motivated. And so when I sat him down, I said something along the lines of like this. I said, honey, I've been thinking about our kitchen, and I've been thinking about the fact that our house is probably our biggest asset as a couple. And when I compare our house to the other houses on the street, I noticed that our kitchen is one of the last kitchens that hasn't been renovated. I've been thinking about ways that we could support and enhance our asset together in a way that we could make it be achievable. What do you think? Wow. Okay, pause. For me, this was a completely different kind of conversation, because in the past, I'd played the role of the victim. Poor me, nobody understands me. There's not enough money for my projects. Nobody gets me, right? The ownership, the responsibility in the solution. I hope you hear that. And from my husband's side, he couldn't play his role either, because his old role was, well, it's too expensive. Let's talk about it later. I like my money in my bank account. Let's not spend it on things. That money to him was opportunity to grow that money too. I want to respect what he saw in that money. But it changed the paradigm of how we were conversing. And so how does this personal story relate to you at work, or relate to you with your spouse or your kids? I think in the corporate world too, when we're setting budgets, we have these lenses of our personal money stories that are getting dumped or projected onto our work on a daily basis. Whether it's your finance person that brings their stories of scarcity and saving to the conversation about growth and expansion, whether it's your CEO who believes as a budding entrepreneur that the solution is to just sell more products. Don't worry about the sales or the expenses on the other side. So back to this story and how we move forward from there. Based on that conversation, we were able to mount a budget he was able to share with me some of his key priorities, which were, for example, quality workmanship. So he was less concerned about, it wasn't so much cost savings at all. Cost savings, what I learned was it was about quality workmanship and paying for that kind of experience. And so those were tools and like kind of nuggets that I was able to build into the process, into securing the kitchen that I wanted and the kitchen that I desired, which was made possible through money. So when I tell that story at conferences, it's funny. People come up to me and say things like, "Oh my God, thank you. Like this relates so much," or "I've never understood why my husband wanted to buy that Porsche," or XYZ. Understanding the backstory, understanding what the beliefs that you hold are, or that your partner or your boss, whatever, hold, brings in this level of compassion for the way they see the world that I just think is fan-friggin-tastic. That's something I talk about a lot with underdog leadership, is that ability to lead from a place of compassion and yet have clarity to make decisions going forward. So right now, as you're listening to this podcast, here's a fun little game. What did you learn? Because these stories go way back. What did you learn growing up around the kitchen table about money? What were the phrases that your parents perpetuated or your grandparents perpetuated about money? What did you hear? Perhaps you want to share those with me in an email. Perhaps you want to put them in the comment section of where we've posted this. I realize this is pretty vulnerable. I know at my kitchen table I heard, "Well, you know, Jenny, rich people get rich because they save their money, not because they spend their money." Now, can you imagine how debilitating that is for me as a newly minted major gifts professional fundraiser, asking for a gift, inviting a gift from a donor? The gift is larger than my entire mortgage. And I'm thinking, if I'm projecting my beliefs onto them, the most important thing for them is to save. Why would they give me their money? Right? I know that they will create change, and I know the value of the gift and everything, but that fundamental belief is actually holding me back from doing my job. And so begins, dear listener, my passion about understanding and getting clear about money. From an underdog leadership perspective, there's another nuance we need to understand, and I'm just going to say it out loud. As women, we have done historically a crap job at managing money. For a lot of reasons, society sort of preordained that the men in the family did that. Some of the research says that women tend to be involved in the day-to-day finances of the world, but men tend to manage the wealth and the assets of the family. So the bigger, the longer picture stuff. Another statistic that women tend to hold, only 36% of women hold stocks in their portfolios versus over 50% of men hold stocks in their portfolios. Why is that? Well, the reason it is because women see the stock market as risky, and traditionally women have been more risk averse. And the final thing that I find so interesting is the way women see the stock market. So women, if there was a loss in the stock market, and let's just be clear, I'm not abdicating in favor or against any kind of your investments. I'm trying to sort of peel back the layers on why are these gender stereotypes still fitting us, even though the world has changed so much underneath us. And so women see the stock market as risky, and that if and when they were to lose money, they would never be able to make that money back. In comparison, men see the stock market as a place that if they lost money, they would be able to recoup it. Can you see how different our behaviors are going to be from a gender perspective based on those core beliefs that we are perpetuating? And then I can't help but finish with the reality that as women, we will most likely outlive our partners. Women tend to live longer. And therefore, the probability that you will be managing your money on your own is so much more likely than for men. And yet, we avoid the conversation. We play the ostrich, just like me. Look, I was not a young spring chicken when this happened to me. We avoid things because they make us uncomfortable, or perhaps in my case, a little bit of, Well, I'm not very good at that. I don't like being not good at things, right? I am a perfectionist to the first order, and I don't like to suck at things. And I realized that in order to get good with money, I'd have to get bad with money first. And so I just rather not touch it. So I have had a scarcity mindset around money for a long time. I had seen money as a finite commodity, a thing to be hoarded, a thing to be held onto. Sidebar, does anybody see that profile around your staff table, around your leadership table, around your board table? What happens during budget time? Are there people that are, charging for every single pen and every single pencil? Are there people that are dialing down the possibility of money coming in because they're afraid of receiving money? So I have had this scarcity mindset around money, and I have been living in lack is what I realized. And I decided that I needed to get clear about this to serve my fundraising coaching clients, but also to serve myself, and start unpacking this. So I wanted to ask myself, well, how could I stretch myself on this? What would be really stretchy for Jenny Mitchell? I noticed my language. I noticed that with the kids, I was like, oh, we'll take this $20, but just spend it wisely, right? Versus take this $20 and enjoy it. Do something great with it, right? So every year at tax time, this is a funny family story that, we would get ready for taxes and there'd be all the celebration of, oh God, or like the part about, wow, we made this much money. This is fantastic. Dang, we have to pay taxes. What a drag. And then I would ask, so where's the Jenny Joy tax? Where's the fun money? How much can I spend and not worry about it? Remember my story about the cash flow. And so money as a tool to have fun, that was something I really wanted to put back into my world. The other thing I want to bring up is how money has an energy to it. It has a vibration to it, right? And so when we've been trained, and this is the not-for-profit world, like in a box, we've been trained to live with less. We've been trained to not ask for more. We've been trained to accept and be grateful for whatever we have. I'm not saying that is like the be all and the end all, but what I'm saying is it changes our vibration. We start to expect lower things. And so often when I'm talking to professional fundraisers, one thing that they often say to me is, I'm VP of whatever, right? Philanthropy, leadership, whatever, or I'm the CEO of this organization, and we cannot dream big. We've lost the ability to say, what would happen if we were grateful enough or powerful enough to receive $1 million gift? And it just doesn't compute. The vibrational energy is so off for that living in lack. Hold on to every penny. Don't you dare spend it on anything that isn't incredibly invaluable to the mission versus dreaming big and going big. My other observation at this point is that we have an oxymoron because not-for-profits live in lack and scarcity and process and are like risk averse. And the kind of donors we're talking to are donors who are business people, who are entrepreneurs, who know the value of a dollar, but who are ready to risk things and be bold, especially if they stand behind a product or a company or a vision to, I think most entrepreneurs, to make the world better in a corporate or in a commercial setting. Can you see the dichotomy there of how bizarre that is and what a weird microcosm we live in? And this is why I think for anybody working in the not-for-profit sector in particular, your money mindset, you are carrying it around like a purse, like a Gucci purse, or not a Gucci purse, to every single one of your meetings. And my invitation for you is my money mindset serving me? Am I bringing it as a lens to work, to my work? And perhaps maybe I need to unpack that, understand it, and by all means, leave it behind under my desk when I go out to proper and important donor meetings. So money is energy. And when we shift our identities from number twos to number ones, that's a real sweet spot of mine. If you've been listening to the podcast, we have to shift our relationship with money. And it puts us in different socioeconomic brackets. So money is also identity. If you're listening to this podcast, if you take your 5 best friends, add up their salaries, divide by 5, I'm going to guess that your salary would be very close to that. In other words, we tend to gravitate to people in the same socioeconomic circles. Whether you like that or not, that is the reality. And so as you up level, as you invite more money into your business, as you invite more money into your corporation, as you invite more money through your salary into your world, your natural wiring is going to be to try and go back to that old structure, go back to that old place you were. But you can't anymore because you've been changed by the experience. That's another one of my underdog leadership obsessions, right? Is being changed, how you manage overcome the experience you've had. Not so much to focus on the experience, but to focus on the change and what's different on the other side of it. So those identity shifts feel really uncomfortable. How do you manage them? You know, you see this in families all the time, right? One spouse or one partner or one brother or sister is more successful, at least on a financial level, than another. And this is no judgment on your choices or your values. But noticing that stuff, noticing what's going on underneath can really help you understand, oh, that's why that's happening. That's why I'm feeling judgy about that. That's why I'm resentful of X, Y, and Z, because our identities are shifting. And remember, not everyone is going to go along with you for the ride. You will have to leave people. You might have to leave people behind. I know that I've had to leave people behind on this journey, and to tell myself that I'm worthy and I'm excited about inviting more money into my life through my business, so that I can have more joy, so that my children can have a great education, so that my partner and I can save for that retirement that we both so much look forward to, right? Those are choices. And there's an element of radical responsibility here too, right? It's easy to stick your head in the sand and say, la, 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 no talking about money. I don't want to talk about money. But it's a reality of our world. And it's something I am bold and bravely stepping into. You've heard me do it on my podcast, Your Next 50 with Sylvia. We talk a lot about money and mindset, and I'm here as your executive coach, as a beacon for these kinds of conversations. I really believe that bringing them out into the open really behooves us and brings us new illuminations on the dialogue. I'm not interested on how you do money. I'm interested in you owning your relationship with money. Your thoughts are creative. So when you change your relationship with money, the world around you changes. I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy, right? But the power of the universe to bring us what we're seeking out. If we're telling the universe that we're not worthy or we don't dare have that more money or that bigger salary, the universe will respond in kind, versus at every turn, letting people know, inviting in, imagining what you would do with that extra bit of money. And by the way, more money means for me, more charitable giving. More money for me means I can support the people in my world and value the work they're doing for me. So you can hear me kind of reprogramming myself. In my past life, money has possibly been seen as a bad thing, or money has been seen as evil. And I think what I'm trying to really reposition for me, this is you're coaching me through this. Thank you, everybody. Is that money is a tool? Is it the money that has the emotion of good or bad, or is it the people and the way they use their money? Right? We are bombarded in the global mail with corporate America doing really stupid and frankly bad things. Is that everybody? No. Is there a way to counteract it by owning your own story with money and getting in the game and having a choice and having a voice and choosing freedom? 100%. So I hope I have piqued your interest on money mindset. I hope you're coming away from this podcast saying, what is my personal relationship with money? What stories am I perpetuating around my own kitchen table? Ooh, folks with kids, how do your children see you in relationship with money? Dun, dun, dun. I'm not going there. But the idea that you have the power to change, right? As an underdog, we've played the role of the victim, right? Or things that have happened to us, or that our money situations are somebody else's fault. Underdog leaders choose to step in, choose to take a look. What challenge, what opportunity is there here to overcome? And how will I be changed on the other side? Fantastic conversation. I hope you've been changed by the dialogue here on this podcast today. So what? What are the next steps? If you've been piqued by this, if you've been intrigued by this discussion, I invite you to take a look at some of the work that's been done in this sector, some of the work that's been done on money mindset. There are lots of experts that can help you in that journey. There's a fantastic Deepak Chopra 21 days of abundance meditation that you can go and access. It's 21 days of sort of reprogramming or up programming feels better, like uplift, up program your brain to think about the money in your life. I also have a money archetype assessment, which is a very simple tool. It's a quiz where you answer a series of questions between disagree and strongly agree. And from that, you get a description of your archetype. And what that archetype does, it explains in simple language how you do money, how you walk around the world, and how you see things. As an added bonus on my money archetype assessment, you also have a profile of donors with that archetype. And so you can get a sense of, well, how would this donor be best approached? How could I connect my archetype to that donor's archetype? Because that's really what we're talking about, is to speak in other people's money archetype languages. And the first step for that is to get clear about your own. So that money archetype assessment is always available to you. Just let me know. And then my other thing that I do with money mindset is I love to teach this as a group course. I run the money mindset course in fall and spring. It's a small cohort. It's a chance to unpack some of our core beliefs about money in a safe space, in a space in the pursuit of learning, rather than chewing each other down or beating each other up. I find money has so much judgment to it. It's so much shame, so much shame attached to money, of where we are or where we think we should be. And just for the record, where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. It's never too late. It's never too soon. But if you want to lean into this as part of your personal empowerment for the year, follow up with me, find out about the money mindset course. It's one of my signature courses. I feel like, as Jenny Mitchell, an executive coach, I will always be leaning into this as a tool to help people better understand those subconscious beliefs that are operating along and driving your decisions, whether you know it or not. Have a great day, everyone. Go be great. Go be an underdog leadership. And if you'd like to share with me what your challenges are that you've overcome, and so that we can celebrate them together, I'd love for you to be in touch. Have a great day.